In the annals of history, few cities have burned as brightly and then vanished as completely as the Round City of Baghdad. For nearly 500 years, it was the beating heart of a golden age, a place of unrivaled knowledge and unimaginable wealth. It was a perfect monument to rational design, a city so grand it seemed to spring from a legend. Today, only its ghostly foundations remain beneath a modern metropolis, leaving us to wonder, what was this lost city, and why did it disappear? To understand its rise, we must first look at the land it was built upon. Before Baghdad, this fertile plain was the ancient cradle of civilization itself. This was Mesopotamia, where empires like Babylon and the Sasanian dynasty thrived for millennia. It was a land of constant conflict and renewal, a strategic crossroads where two of the world's most powerful rivers, the Tigris and the Euphrates, nearly converged. This very location made it a political and economic prize, but it lacked a true cultural and military capital for the new Abbasid Caliphate, which had seized power from the Umayyads. They needed a capital that was not tainted by the old regime, a city that would symbolize their reign and their ambition. It was the second Abbasid Caliph, Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, who saw this land's true potential. He chose it not just for its military and commercial advantages, but for its perfect central location, believing it would be a place of both earthly power and spiritual equilibrium. His vision was not for a simple city, but for a monument to human ingenuity, a perfect, symmetrical circle. Al-Mansur's ambition was staggering, matched only by the opulence of his caliphate. The Abbasid Empire was at its zenith, and the wealth of its rulers was legendary. The caliphs lived in a world of unimaginable luxury, surrounded by priceless silks, jewels, and an endless flow of riches from across their vast empire. This immense wealth and power fueled the construction of the Round City. Over 100,000 architects, engineers, artisans, and laborers were commissioned to build the city. They used astronomical knowledge to lay out the city's foundations with pinpoint precision, and its geometry was more than just a design. It was a cosmic symbol. The two massive circular walls, each nearly 4 kilometers in circumference, were perfectly concentric rings, a deliberate representation of the heavens. The city was a human-made universe, with the Caliph's Golden Palace and the Grand Mosque at the exact center, a perfect bullseye of power. The city was a fortress, a brilliant example of military architecture. The walls were over 30 meters high, with a third, even higher wall protecting the central administrative core. The 4 great gates, each one a formidable defensive structure, were a testament to its strategic brilliance. They faced the 4 cardinal directions: the Kufa Gate to the southwest, the Basra Gate to the southeast, the Syria Gate to the northwest, and the Khorasan Gate to the northeast, creating a defensive star that controlled all movement and trade. Surrounding the walls was a deep moat, and the entire city was a marvel of defensive planning. But its true genius was not just in its walls, but in its mind. The city quickly became the epicenter of the Islamic Golden Age. At its heart was the Beit al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom, a massive library and translation institute. Here, a diverse community of scholars, Muslim, Christian, and Jewish, collaborated on an unprecedented scale. They didn't just preserve ancient Greek, Roman, and Persian texts, they built upon them. This intellectual furnace fueled groundbreaking advancements in algebra, which was pioneered by Al-Khwarizmi, and in medicine, thanks to the discoveries of figures like Al-Razi. Scholars meticulously mapped the stars, perfected the astrolabe, and laid the foundations of modern chemistry. The city's water system was an engineering triumph, a network of sophisticated canals and aqueducts that drew water from the Tigris, providing clean water for its booming population and irrigating the surrounding fertile lands. The city's legendary bazaars were a sensory explosion of sound and color, a true global marketplace where goods from China, India, and Africa flowed freely, and scholars and merchants from every corner of the known world mingled and exchanged ideas. It was a true cosmopolitan hub, a city that had seemingly solved the great problems of urban living. But even in this golden age, the seeds of decay were being sown. As the decades passed, the immense wealth and power of the caliphate gave way to corruption and decadence. The later caliphs, far removed from the austere dedication of their founders, became more interested in personal indulgence than in the affairs of the state. They were lavished with jewels, entertained in magnificent palaces, and grew complacent. The vast administrative machine of the empire, once a source of strength, began to rot from within. Power shifted from the caliph to ambitious viziers and military commanders who built their own fiefdoms, leading to a period of internal strife and political instability. The once invincible walls of the Round City became a symbol of a fragile, inward-looking government, blind to the growing threats from outside. The greatest of these threats was the Mongol Empire. In the 13th century, a storm from the east gathered under the command of Hulagu Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan. His armies were a force of unbridled destruction, leaving a trail of ruined cities and shattered empires in their wake. As the Mongols approached, the final Abbasid Caliph, al-Mustasim, was tragically apathetic, blinded by a false sense of security and his own arrogance. He was warned of the approaching army, but failed to rally his forces, believing his city to be impregnable and the Mongols to be nothing more than barbarians. He was terribly wrong. In 1258, the Mongol hordes laid siege to Baghdad. They deployed a devastating array of siege engines, and the city that had been designed for perfect defense found itself woefully unprepared. The Great Walls, once a symbol of strength, became a tomb. The siege lasted for just 12 days. The city's defenses crumbled and the gates were breached. The Mongol army poured into Baghdad, unleashing a week of unimaginable horror. The great libraries, including the legendary House of Wisdom, were systematically destroyed. Books, the sum of centuries of human knowledge, were thrown into the Tigris River in such vast numbers that its waters were said to have run black with the ink. The people of Baghdad were mercilessly slaughtered. The final caliph, al-Mustasim, was captured and executed, his death marking the brutal end of the Abbasid Caliphate in the Islamic Golden Age. The Mongols dismantled the city, systematically tearing it down and using its bricks and stones to build new structures, leaving little more than a ghost of its former glory. The once perfect circle was intentionally and tragically erased. Today, modern Baghdad stands atop this ancient and vanished city. The very streets, buildings, and gardens are built over a past that few can see. But what lies beneath the surface? Modern archaeology, using satellite imagery, has been able to identify the faint, ghost-like outlines of the original circular walls, confirming the city's existence and precise geometry. But the vast majority of its secrets remain buried. What lost artifacts, what forgotten technologies, what untold stories are still waiting to be discovered, just beneath the bustling streets of today's metropolis. The very fact that this architectural and intellectual marvel could simply vanish reminds us that some of history's greatest creations are still shrouded in mystery, waiting for us to uncover their secrets. Was the Round City of Baghdad a monument to arrogance, a fragile utopia, or simply the greatest city the world has ever known? And if you're as fascinated by these stories as we are, be sure to like and follow at Epoch Stride for more. Thank you for watching. Who do you think will be the first to unearth the deepest secrets of this vanished city?